There's several categories in the Bible of healing, and this devotional on Where's My Miracle, we're looking at them. We already looked at cures for illness, and last time we looked at blindness. Today's focus is lepers. One of my favorite healing stories in the Bible is that of the 10 lepers found in Luke 17. So let's see what Jesus was talking about before he told the story of the lepers. Very often the context around a story is so helpful in seeing the whole picture. He first mentions not causing others to stumble in their faith, a big, huge no, and he talks about forgiveness to those that sin against us, constantly forgiving, and to those two stories, his followers said, "Lord, increase our faith." Jesus then talks about a mustard seed faith and tells the curious story about duty as a servant and obeying the master. Then the lepers arrive. So in Bible times, leprosy was more than an infectious skin disease. It rendered the person who had it unfit to be part of a community and unable to join in the worship of God. Also, symbolically speaking, sin corrupts like leprosy and causes the physical and outward show on the body of what inwardly happens with sin, eating away at our life. So in Bible times, lepers looked awful and disfigured, kind of like a Walking Dead person. So back to the story, there were a group of 10 lepers, and one called out from a distance asking for pity from Jesus and for healing. Jesus answered them and said, "Go show yourself to the priest and you'll be healed." Sounds like an easy miracle. Why did they need to go show themselves to the priest? Well, back then, in order to be accepted back into the societies, lepers had to do this so the priest could see that they were healed. Jesus required these guys to go show themselves, perhaps an act of obedience of the coming healing of their bodies. Then we read that only 1 out of the 10 returned to give Jesus thanks, and he was a Samaritan. Those were the groups of people shunned by the Jews. So not only was he a Samaritan, but he had leprosy, a double whammy, in need of a true miracle to even successfully succeed in society. So today maybe we could think of foreigners, those of a different color, or those in wheelchairs, or those with infectious diseases, or those homeless on the streets, any particular group of people that society shuns or stays away from. Why do we do that? For fear of being contaminated ourselves because of differences, or of one group thinking they're better than another. These folks need miracles. We need miracles. And Jesus demonstrates how he was going to bring about a miracle for the outcast, the walking dead. When this one leper returns and thanks him, Jesus says, "Where were the other 9?" And he commends the guy for returning to give thanks. And he says, "Rise, go, your faith has made you whole." The word says all 10 were healed, but we don't know why the others didn't thank Jesus who cured them. Could it be they never made the connection with who Jesus was and their healing? Or maybe they just thought that they went and their healing came on its own? In both cases, they ignored the presence of Jesus in their life and giving him thanks for the miracle. A true no that grieves the heart of God. Worship is a response to God's grace and power, and that's the story here. Remember, we just read, Jesus had told his listeners about not causing others to stumble and about having faith like a mustard seed. And then they asked for their faith to be increased. Then they got to observe the healing of the 10 lepers, the outcasts, setting them back among the living in society through just an instruction of going in faith. Jesus demonstrated true compassion and forgiveness and healing as he spoke to this horrible skin disease and cleansed these guys that were deemed unclean by society. As leprosy is also a symbol of sin, that which eats away on the inside, he forgives us. He sets us in families, establishes back into life when we believe and accept who he is, God's only son. That's the reason I love this story, is because I also feel sad when I read it that God or Jesus gave these men their miracle, gives them back their lives, but only one returns to thank him. If we ever live in a thankless society, it's now. It's as if lots of folks think they are owed by God and everyone else, so they should be given to because of various reasons, who they are, what they've done, or just because they've asked. Kids have fundraisers now online with emails. People set up GoFundMe accounts for lots of miracles that are not really miracle worthy. and they want themselves to be on a road to success. Of course, GoFundMe accounts are great, but I'm talking about the way of life of just asking. Lots of times, these same kids never say thank you or look to see where their funds came when they were given to. Unthankfulness is a huge thing with God, and in this story of the 10 guys needing a miracle, it appears one got their miracle of a change of heart. Often miracles come with an expected response, and that's to recognize and give thanks to the miracle giver. It sometimes seems that the greater perception of our need for a miracle results in the greater humility of a heart to return to give thanks. And sometimes it warrants asking ourselves, why do we want the miracle? What will we do with it when the answer comes? And who will get the glory? The universe, our lucky stars, the formula that we conjured up, or just glad that everything aligned for us? As we stated from the beginning, we aren't looking for answers so that we can hand a sheet to God with all the check boxes and demand our miracle. We're living and growing and learning and seeing the face of Jesus turn towards us in the most compassionate, forgiving, and loving way as he speaks to us to be healed from the inside out, so that we're continually on our knees worshiping the one that truly heals all. I sometimes wonder if the 9 that never thanked Jesus were healed, but still never changed and still continued to walk as dead men. Who knows?